This is a webinar about the Educational Surrogate Parent Program and the role that an Educational Surrogate Parent, or ESP, plays when a child receives services from Child Development Watch and transitions into a local school district. This webinar is approximately 30 minutes in length. My name is Kathy Harrell, and I am the coordinator of the Educational Surrogate Parent Program at the Parent Information Center. Before we begin with our content, I would like to share information with you about the Parent Information Center and the resources available to you. The Parent Information Center, or PIC, was established over 30 years ago. PIC is a statewide nonprofit organization that provides tools for parents, other caregivers, and advocates to secure appropriate educational and related services for children. PIC's mission is to advance effective parent engagement in education. The Parent Information Center offers one-to-one consultations, learning opportunities, online resources, outreach to various communities, and systems advocacy. The Educational Surrogate Parent Program is administered by the Parent Information Center through a contract with the Delaware Department of Education. So let's begin with some background information. The provision for appointing Educational Surrogate Parents, or ESPs, was established under the federal law called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. This law is commonly referred to as special education. Part C of this federal law describes how children who are from birth to 3 years of age and who have special needs and are in the foster care system are entitled to have an adult who can assume parental rights and advocate on their behalf for early intervention services. The IDEA also protects children over the age of 3 through Part B of the same law.
This is Fiona Vivar. I'm the Department of Education Liaison to Child Development Watch. Early intervention services are provided in Delaware by the following agency. The Department of Health and Social Services, DHSS, is the lead agency in Delaware for Part C under IDEA. The Division of Public Health within DHSS has the operational responsibility for Child Development Watch, CDW, the program that carries out Part C in Delaware. Child Development Watch, CDW, is responsible for identification of potentially eligible children and their families. We provide service coordination, evaluation, and develop and maintain the Individualized Family Service Plan, also known as IFSP. We refer for services and prepare for and carry out transitions.
Remember that the provision for appointing Educational Surrogate Parents originates from the federal law called IDEA. An ESP acts as the child's parent in the process for early intervention services and/or special education purposes. This law defines who a parent is for special education purposes. A parent is defined as a biological or adoptive parent, a legal guardian, but not the state if the child is in foster care, a relative caregiver. This is a person who is acting in the place of a biological or adoptive parent and with whom the child lives, or an individual who is legally responsible for the child's welfare, or an Educational Surrogate Parent, or ESP. This is a person who has been appointed by the Delaware Department of Education after participating in training with the Parent Information Center and is then recommended to be an ESP by Parent Information Center. Once appointed, the ESP assumes the parental rights of the child under IDEA. Biological parents may still be involved with the child, but once appointed, the ESP assumes the parental rights in the process for early intervention services and/or special education and related services purposes. An ESP is a community volunteer or a foster parent. An ESP is appointed by the Department of Education to represent a child who receives or may be in need of early intervention services and/or special education and related services. The role of the ESP is very important in either process. The ESP is to be included in all decisions related to early intervention services with Child Development Watch and/or special education and related services, which includes identifying a child who needs special education and related services, the evaluation process for the child, the educational placement of the student, and making sure the student has a free, appropriate public education. Additionally, your role as an educational surrogate parent may be discontinued if your actions or advocacy is found to not be in the best interest of the child. The qualifications to be an ESP are spelled out in the federal law that was mentioned earlier called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Qualifications include being at least 18 years of age, being a legal resident of the United States, being competent to represent the child, and not having any personal or professional conflict while assuming the role. Additionally, training for ESPs is required annually. ESPs must be able to converse in the primary communication mode of the child and have knowledge and skills to adequately represent the child in early intervention services and/or the special education process. Let's talk in more detail about the rights and responsibilities of an ESP. A little later we will describe early intervention services in more detail, and you will see how an ESP exercises the rights in the process. An ESP has the right to consent to evaluations for eligibility, participate in IFSP or Individualized Family Service Planning, which will be talked about shortly, agree or disagree with services, receive timely written notices of meetings, and receive services for the child in the child's natural environment. An ESP also has the right to change service coordinators, participate in a transition conference with the school district, and participate in eligibility and IEP or Individualized Education Program meetings. Now, let's talk more about early intervention services in comparison to special education and related services.
As an ESP, you may be asked to participate in developing an IFSP and/or an IEP. The Individualized Family Service Plan, also known as an IFSP, is developed for children who are eligible birth to 3 years of age. It focuses on a child's needs. Services are delivered in a natural environment and may be reviewed every 6 months. An Individualized Education Program, otherwise known as an IEP, is developed for children eligible age 3 to 21 years of age. It focuses on students' needs related to education. Services are delivered in school and may be reviewed at least annually.
As a refresher, an ESP is appointed for a child in foster care who is receiving or may receive early intervention services and/or special education and related services. The role of the ESP is to act as the child's parent in either process. The role, qualifications, and rights of an ESP come from the special education law called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It is expected that an ESP will participate in annual training, maintain contact with the coordinator of the ESP program, and complete an application and other mandatory paperwork as needed. We value foster parents and community volunteers who dedicate their time to be an ESP for a child. The ESP program provides training opportunities to ESPs throughout the year to help them learn more and enhance their skills in advocacy. Technical assistance or help in problem-solving situations that occur as you, the ESP, navigate the early intervention services system with Child Development Watch or the special education and related services system. Technical assistance may be in the form of answering questions, talking over concerns, providing support at meetings, and sharing resources. Feedback. There are avenues for feedback to flow both ways so that you feel supported in your role as an ESP. And ESPs are recognized at a yearly event and at other times during the year. Now let's put some more clarity to your role as an ESP for a child receiving early intervention services from Child Development Watch. Again, more information about your participation will be discussed as we continue. An ESP should participate in the CDW or Child Development Watch evaluation for eligibility of services, participate in developing the Individualized Family Service Plan. An ESP should also help make decisions about early intervention services, have input into ongoing assessments of the child, participate in a transition conference with the school district when appropriate, and participate in the eligibility meeting for special education and related services, and when appropriate, the Individualized Education Program meetings.
A child may participate in Child Development Watch who is eligible for services from birth to 3 years old who is currently living in Delaware. Child may be eligible for services based on an established condition, or if found, a developmental delay in the following areas: cognitive, physical, communication, social, emotional, and/or adaptive. If the child is eligible for services, an Individualized Family Service Plan, an IFSP, is developed. These are the following areas that you will discuss with your team: present levels of development, family information and needs, major outcomes expected to be achieved, early intervention services, other services a family may need but are not covered by Part C, dates and duration of services, and a transition plan. Early intervention services may be provided in the following areas: assistive technology, audiology, family training, counseling and home visits, health services, medical services, nursing services, nutrition services, occupational therapy, physical therapy, psychological services, transportation, social work services, special instruction, speech-language pathology, vision services. If eligible, a child will participate in a transition conference with the school district. These conferences take place 3 to 9 months prior to the child's 3rd birthday. During a transition conference, you may discuss the child's needs and how they are currently being met. You may explore options to meet needs in the future, develop a plan for the family, service coordinator, and the school to prepare for a preschool program run by the school district. If eligible, an individualized education program may be developed. As an ESP, you will participate in an eligibility meeting with the school district to determine if the child is eligible for special education and related services. If the child is eligible, you will work with the school team to develop an individualized education program, an IEP.
An educational surrogate parent has many rights that he or she should exercise responsibly. In summary, an ESP has the right to consent to evaluations for eligibility of early intervention services and/or special education and related services, participate in IFSP planning and reviews, and agree or disagree with services. An ESP also has the right to receive timely written notices for meetings, have services for the child in the child's natural environment, and be assured of confidentiality of personal information. An ESP has the right to request to change service coordinators, participate in a transition conference with the school district, and participate in the eligibility meeting for special education and related services and, as appropriate, IEP meetings.
In summary, an IFSP meeting, an Individualized Family Service Plan, is developed for a child who is eligible birth to 3 years of age. It focuses on a child's needs. Services are delivered in a natural environment and are reviewed every 6 months. The Individualized Education Program, the IEP, is for children who are eligible 3 to 21 years of age. It focuses on a student's needs related to education. Services are delivered in school and are reviewed at least annually.
We have provided several trusted resources for you and encourage you to continue the learning process.
This webinar is available in the Parent Information Center, Child Development Watch, and the Department of Education. Webinar information may be located in the following websites under Parent Information Center and Child Development Watch offices.
Again, the ESP program is administered by the Parent Information Center of Delaware through a contract with the Delaware Department of Education. This slide provides contact information for myself, Kathy Harrell, the coordinator of the ESP program at Parent Information Center. Thank you for listening, and please do not hesitate to contact me at any time.